My friends, let me tell you a story about a team so hopeless that every fan that could call themselves one has lost all that they could believe in. A team that, if they were a religion, lost all followers and believers. A team that is so poorly and idiotically and horrifyingly managed that they have somehow become the most sad and depressing team in the land. And that is, of course, the Buffalo Sabres, a team upstate New York that sucks so bad at running a hockey team that you have to question, why am I or you not an NHL GM when someone as stupid as Kevin Adams is? I don't know. Welcome back to the O Hockey Show, and today we're talking about the trade of Jonathan Jasonio Peterka, JJ Peterka, from the Buffalo Sabres to the Utah Mammoth. Wasn't expecting them to be the landing spot, but it happened in a trade that is not what I expected to be the return for. But we're going to talk all about it right now. So, the trade, Jason Peterka, 23-year-old guy who clearly has the makings of being a point-per-game player, who clearly has shown already he's a 20s goal scorer, and I think he will be a consistent 30-goal scorer in his career. Remember, he's 23 years old. He's got all his life left in front of him. And he's got 77 games played this season. He had 27 goals and 68 points in his contract year. 68 points. That is almost a point per game. Almost. He's almost there. 23 on the Buffalo Sabres. The team that sucks. Okay? So, he needs a new contract. He does not want to stay in Buffalo. Who does? But he does not want to stay there at all. And he is out there on the trade market for some reason, somehow. And Kevin Adams' recent words, of course, he had a press conference just a day ago, maybe 2 days ago, and he said some pretty embarrassing things about his team, the whole situation, about himself. Not embarrassing for Peterka or anything. It is embarrassing for Kevin Adams and the management of Buffalo. And I guess I feel like that crossed the line, and there was a point of no return. And Peterka needed out, and they found the landing spot of Utah, who apparently gave them the best deal, because if you're an NHL GM, you take the best deal possible for your assets. And apparently, the best deal was Josh Stone and Michael Kesselring. Now listen, I'm huge Coyotes fan. Grew up one. Big ASU fan. Josh Stone is a phenomenal player. I am in love with that man. 19 points he had this season in the full year. 19 points. 23 years old, same age as Peterka. Do you think that is a fair swap? Now, of course, then Michael Kesselring, he had 29 points in this season. He played pretty much every game. I think every game, actually. He has a $1.4 million cap hit, so, you get a decent depth defender for the Buffalo Sabres. Nothing really game-changing. Neither of them are, and you give up your player, Jonathan Peterka, JJ, for that. I can't even believe it. And I'm just going to skip to my big question down here. And this is what I don't understand about all of the teams in the NHL is how do these trades happen where you see a trade for Mackenzie Blackwood and it's one of the hottest goaltenders that is looking for a new landing spot from the San Jose Sharks, and the return for him is that, when a lot of teams could have come up with an equal offering, right? So many times I question this stuff. If this was the return for JJ Peterka, now of course the signing is key. He signs a contract, but how does no other team come up with enough assets equivalent or even more than this? Or, and it's not that, and I'm not just saying this towards a contending team, right? The Florida Panthers, they got a lot of cap problems, they probably can't really make this happen. But a team like the Carolina Hurricanes, who need offense and have all the cap space in the world, You're telling me that they couldn't have found somewhere a young, good prospect, which they do have a handful of, and a decent depth defenseman, which they have a lot of defense. You're telling me that they couldn't have found anything and then put in, like, I don't know, like a third round pick just to sweeten it up and beat the Mammoth out? You're telling me that couldn't have happened? I don't get this NHL. I don't get these teams. How does this not happen? But I'm freaking out over that. Let me focus on the actual trade. So, Utah Mammoth get an actual stud. He is now the highest paid player on the team, actually. Clayton Keller gets paid $7.15, I think. And Peterka signs a 5-year deal for $7.7, so he immediately becomes their highest paid and most valuable player. And I think he will rightfully be so. I think the Mammoth are going to be huge this season. And I think Peterka, playing on a line with Keller or Gunther, or the amount of offensive opportunity there's so many young players there, that he will be a driving force. He is one of those guys. He is a playmaker. He is a driver, I would say. I don't think he's one of those passenger players. He is a driver, and the way he shined on a team so miserable as the Sabres just goes to show, like, he was able to make this happen. He had 28 goals last year and 50 points, right? He's clearly a good goal scorer. He's going to score in the 20s, and I think he will be a consistent 30-goal scorer once he has a good, less settling spot. Once again, 23 years old. I think he will be a close to point-per-game player, I think, over his career. And I think now that he's a landing spot in a team that is as optimistic as the Utah Mammoth, I think he is a great home now. I think he fits in perfectly, and I think it's awesome. I think this is huge. I think, first of all, great trade for the Utah Mammoth. I think this is a team that has a lot of great foundational pieces, has good cap space to spend on, and has a lot of guys. I think Dylan Gunther could also be a great 40-goal scorer. I wouldn't be so. He's one of the greatest shots. Underrated talent. And to me, Utah, I think with other teams just kind of sucking at managing themselves as well, Utah is a team I see making the playoffs. They are a team I can see easily squeaking into the second wild card spot, or even the first. Not in the top 3 in a division, but I think they definitely are a wild card team that can definitely make some teams that also were in the runnings go for their money too. So to me, and with the addition of Peterka, only pushes them further, right? And sure, they lose Josh Stone, that legacy piece, but I don't know. He's 23 years old. I don't see him. Josh Stone, to me, is just one of those players that I think just doesn't have what it takes to be a great NHL player. I think he's one of those guys that is always in the NHL. I think he will find a landing spot on a good third line, and maybe he's one of those guys that jumps up to the second or something. But to me, Josh Stone just, I don't know. I don't see him becoming a Peterka. Michael Kesselring is not some giant top 4 D-man, right? I don't understand this trade for the Sabres' point of view. For Utah, awesome. Absolutely super. And you know who sucks the most out of this is the Coyotes, because the management of this team is finally doing so good, and they're finally out of Arizona. So that's kind of a funny thing too. But to me, my biggest question is this. How does Kevin Adams have a job still? How does another NHL team not find a way to make this trade happen? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. So, overall, this trade, amazing for Utah. I love their depth now. I think they've got a great top 6, and their defense needs work. They definitely need a lot more work to be done. But they have good grounds to keep building and letting their younger guys develop. And I think this is a team that has great pieces to be good in 4 years. But I think they are in a contending mode now. And they got a lot of pieces that they could trade out and bring in new pieces. If they still have cap space. They could still land a guy like Mitch Marner and even accelerate that. I think their main thing is defense, though. I think offensively they're good enough. I think a good defense is going to really make a big difference for them. I think their goaltending is also questionable too, because does Vejmelka play as good as he did? But that's a whole other video questioning that team. But for me, this trade, down to it, Utah gets a steal of a trade with a great signing. This number, by the way, is fantastic, especially in this explosion salary cap era we're in. 5 years for 7.7 for a guy that is nearly a point per game is a pretty good trade. Pretty good contract. And to me, love it for them. Buffalo, what the fuck are you doing? But that's all I gotta say. So thank you for watching this, made it this far. Please, I am begging you to subscribe. And until next time, too sweet. Have an amazing day, and ta-ta for now.